So in this section, we're actually looking at measuring the angles and the arc. So we'll be looking at arc measurement as well as angle measurement in this section. So a few things that we need to talk about. Now we're going into, if we're talking about angles, we got to know where the angles are coming from. So if I have a circle, and I put a Q there, what would I call this? Circle Q, right? So to make that angle, I could draw a radius, let's say PQ, and then I could also create another angle, another radius by labeling that QS, and now I have created an angle, right? So what would the name of this angle be? PQS. So that name of that angle, where is that angle coming from? It's coming from the center, right? So it would make sense that the name of that angle is called the central angle. So the central angle. So what is the definition of the central angle? Well, it is in a circle, and it's an angle with a vertex where? Where's the vertex? At the center. Excuse me. So vertex in the center of the circle. So a central angle is where you have an angle that is formed, and it's at the vertex is at the center of the circle. So something that we need to know about the sum of the central angles. In your book, it talks about a key concept, the sum of central angles. It says the sum of the measures of the central angles of a circle with no interior points in common is what? What's the sum of the measures of the interior angles of a circle? We know this. What is it? 360. Very good. So the sum of the central angles is 360. Let's find some measures of angles. If I give us circle X and I want us to find the measure of GXJ. I want us to find the measure of GXJ, and we are told that this is 130 degrees GXH, and JXH is 90. How could I find GXJ? Okay, so Mackenzie said 360 because that's the sum. So this is the sum minus 130 minus what else? 90. So what is the measure of GXJ? Waiting on y'all. 140 degrees. Very good. So real quick, like y'all turn in your book to page 710 and do 1 and 2. It won't take you but a second. You don't even have to write it down. 1 and 2. So what's number 1?
170.
Everybody agree? They said 170, 170 degrees. You just take 360 because that's the sum, minus 130 minus 60. Okay, number 2. What does that red mark mean? They're congruent. So you have two angles that measure what? 35 degrees. So we would take 360 because that's the sum of the circle for the angles and subtract what? 140 and 70, right? 35 times 2 is 70. So what's that answer? 150. So number 1 was 170, number 2 was 150. Alright, so now let's talk about arcs and arc measures. Before we really get into arcs, you need to know what an arc is. In your book it says it's a portion of a circle defined by two endpoints. So it's a portion of a circle defined by two endpoints. So I'm just going to sketch a real quick one right here. If I draw a circle, let's say circle Q, and it has a central angle of RQP, there are two arcs in that figure. Arc meaning it's a portion of the circle defined by two endpoints. Who can give me one arc? The name of one arc. QR. Is Q on the circle? It's in it. It said that it had to be defined by two endpoints. So that means that if it's an endpoint, then it's on the circle. So RP would be one. RP. And to label an arc, we just literally draw the arc symbol above it. And then what's the other one? Okay. Well, if by looking at that, I have RP in two different directions, right? So that's the next concept that we're coming up with. We have minor arcs and we have major arcs. So if I put a point on this circle, and I'm going to call that point X, which arc would be considered to be minor? Minor. Think about what minor means. What does it mean? Small, right? So when we're thinking of minor, we need to think that it is less than 180 degrees. So what arc up there is less than 180 degrees? RP. So RP would be a minor arc. Because it is less than, and then your book also says less than and equal to the measure of its related central angles. It's less than 180 degrees. And then a major arc is named with three letters, or 3 points, I should say. Your starting point, a point that is included, and then your ending point. Because if I just said arc RP, RP is the minor arc too, right? But there's a major arc, but I have to include a third letter, and that third letter would go in the middle. So what would that letter be? Okay, that arc would be RXP. So arc RXP is a major arc. And a major arc has to be greater than what? 180, but less than what?
360.
Right, less than 360. Okay, now I've given us another angle in there, and I would like for us to name a semicircle. What is a semicircle? We know that. It's half circle. So what is it equal to? 180 degrees. So if I wanted you to give me the name of a semicircle in that figure, there are two, right? It's been cut in half. There are two semicircles. A semicircle needs to be named with 3 letters. So give me the name of one semicircle in that figure. Janisha? She said MRP. MRP. Is she correct? Yes. Give me the name of another semicircle. What? MXP. M being a endpoint on the circle. So the arc has to be stated by the beginning and the end endpoints. Make sense? Alright, so now let's go and let's look on page 710 at number 3. IHJ. Is that considered to be a major arc or a minor arc? IHJ. That's a major arc, right? It goes from at the 90-degree mark all the way around. You're just taking 90 from that. So could we find the measure of that arc? We could. Okay, if we know the central angle, then we could easily find the measure of the arc. What about number 4? What would that be? A minor arc. So let me tell you this. If you see that angle measures 59 degrees, and we'll get into this tomorrow, but the angle measures 59 degrees, so therefore the arc also measures 59 degrees. Okay, number 5, H, don't move. HGK. That is a semicircle. How'd you know that, Maddie? It's half a circle. So what's a measure of that arc? 180 degrees, okay? So I would like for you to do these few problems. Add this to your homework. Page 710, 12 through 23. And you might say that's more than a few, but it'll be really quick. 12 through 23.